You ever look in the mirror and realize that the person staring back isn't who you could be, it's who you've settled to be? The version that hits snooze, the version that says, I'll start tomorrow, the version that hides behind excuses waiting for the perfect time that never comes. That's the weak version of you. And it's been running your life far too long. See, most people don't lose to the world. They lose to themselves. They lose to that quiet voice that whispers, you're tired. You've done enough. Take it easy. That voice sounds so innocent, so reasonable, but it's poison. It's the enemy inside. And here's the truth. You can't negotiate with that voice. You can't reason with it. You can't make peace with it. You have to crush it. Because every day there's a battle happening, not out there, not with other people, but right here inside you. Every decision you make either feeds your strength or feeds your weakness. Every time you choose comfort, you're handing power to the part of you that wants to stay small. But the strong version of you, the one buried underneath the fear, the hesitation, the doubt, that version is waiting. It's waiting for you to stop playing nice with your excuses and start showing up like you mean it. So I want you to imagine this. What would your life look like if you never gave in to that weak voice again? If you stopped letting fear make your decisions? If you started living by action instead of emotion? That's what we're here to do today. Not to feel good, not to be inspired for 5 minutes, but to wake up the strong version of you and bury the weak one permanently. Because from this moment on, the mission is simple. Crush the weak version of yourself before it crushes you. You know what most people will never admit? That the biggest obstacle in their life isn't their job, their upbringing, or the people around them. It's themselves. There's a version of you that exists inside your own head that's been quietly calling the shots. It's the version that settles for good enough. It's the version that avoids hard truths. It's the version that hides behind excuses, behind fear, behind comfort. It's the weak version of you. And as long as you pretend it doesn't exist, it will keep running your life. This weak version isn't dramatic or loud. It doesn't show up as failure or catastrophe. No, it's subtle. It's that small decision to scroll instead of study. It's the voice that tells you you've earned a break, even when you haven't done the work. It's the moment you say tomorrow for the 10th time in a row. It's that whisper that convinces you mediocrity is okay, that normal is safe. That's how it wins, not by force, but by permission. You let it in, you let it stay, and before you know it, it's running everything. See, the weak version of you is a master manipulator. It knows exactly how to use your emotions against you. It will disguise laziness as self-care. It will label procrastination as patience. It will call fear caution and disguise avoidance as logic. It's clever because it's you. It knows every excuse you've ever used and every insecurity you've ever felt. It knows exactly how to talk you out of doing the hard things. And if you're not aware of it, it'll keep winning those little battles until one day you wake up and wonder where all your potential went. Here's the truth. There's no neutral ground in this fight. Every choice you make either feeds the strong version of you or the weak one. Every morning you decide whether you're going to be the person who follows through or the person who makes excuses. Every conversation with yourself is a negotiation for control. And too many people have been losing those negotiations for years without even realizing it. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you'd change? You'd get in shape? You'd start that business? You'd finally speak up? And then you didn't. You rationalized, you told yourself, it's not the right time, or I'll start after things calm down. But things never calm down, do they? Because the weak version of you is always there, waiting with another excuse, another justification, another reason to play small. That's why awareness is everything. Because once you see the weak version of you, once you call it out, you can no longer hide behind it. You start to recognize when it's speaking. You hear the lies for what they are, comfort traps. Take it easy. You've done enough. You don't need to push harder. Those lines are not kindness. They're sabotage. They keep you stagnant. They keep you dependent. They keep you average. And the problem is, average feels safe. It's the silent killer of potential. Average doesn't hurt enough to scare you, but it's comfortable enough to keep you stuck. It's like being half asleep your entire life, alive, but not awake. The weak version of you loves average because it's predictable. There's no risk, no exposure, no accountability. You don't fail spectacularly, but you never win either. You just coast and call it balance. Here's the brutal reality. You can't destroy the weak version once and for all. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't die. It's part of you. The goal isn't to erase it. It's to overpower it. It's to recognize when it's talking and choose differently, consistently, until the strong version of you becomes the one in charge. Because that weak version will never stop trying to take the wheel. It's always looking for an opening, a moment of doubt, a day of low energy, a crack in your discipline. The moment you let your guard down, it slides right back in. That's why you have to live with awareness. You have to know when you're being led by weakness. You have to catch yourself when you start negotiating with it. The second you start saying, I'll do it later, I'm not ready yet, I deserve a break, that's your signal. That's the moment the weak version is talking. You don't argue with it. You don't debate it. You silence it with action. You do the thing anyway. Because here's the thing. The strong version of you isn't louder. It's quieter. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It doesn't justify. It just does. It shows up. It executes. It gets uncomfortable and keeps going. It's the version of you that does what's required, not what's convenient. And every time you act from that place, even in small ways, you train it to take control. Every time you push past your comfort zone, you weaken the grip of that lazy, fearful, self-doubting voice. But if you don't challenge it, it grows stronger. Every excuse feeds it. Every delay empowers it. Every time you quit halfway, you reinforce it. That's why so many people feel stuck, not because they can't change, but because they keep feeding the wrong version of themselves. They give energy to fear instead of courage, comfort instead of growth. And then they wonder why they feel unfulfilled, why they feel disconnected, why nothing seems to move forward. You can't live two lives at once. You can't be strong and weak in the same moment. One will always dominate the other. So ask yourself, which one is in control right now? The one that seeks challenge, or the one that avoids it? The one that takes ownership, or the one that blames? The one that leads, or the one that hides? That's the real work, not comparing yourself to anyone else, but confronting the version of you that's been holding you back. That's the war that matters. Because if you win that one, you win everything. The body changes, the habits shift, the confidence grows, the success follows. But it all starts inside. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be aware. And once you see that weak version of yourself, once you realize how often it's been running your life, you'll never be able to unsee it. You'll start catching yourself in the act of surrendering to it. And that's when the transformation begins. Because the moment you say no more, the moment you stop allowing that voice to dictate your choices, you start taking back your power. The weak version of you might have built your past, but it doesn't get to design your future. That's your job now. Every decision, every action, every day, it's your chance to reclaim control. Because the strong version of you is waiting, and it's tired of being buried under fear, excuses, and doubt. The weak version will whisper, stay where it's safe. The strong version will say, you were made for more. Only one of them gets to win. Comfort, it's the sweetest poison you'll ever taste. It feels good, it feels safe, it feels deserved. But underneath that warmth, it's quietly killing your potential. Because comfort isn't just a feeling, it's a cage. And here's the hardest truth most people will never face. You built it yourself. Every time you avoided the hard thing, every time you chose the easy way, every time you told yourself, I'll do it later, you added another bar to that cage. And now you sit inside it wondering why your life feels small, predictable, stagnant. You can see the life you want, the stronger, bolder, more capable version of yourself, but you can't reach it. Not because it's impossible, but because you've locked yourself in. Comfort whispers, lies to you. It tells you, You've earned this rest. It tells you you deserve a break. It tells you you're doing better than most people. But that's not encouragement. That's manipulation. It keeps you right where you are by feeding your ego and numbing your drive. The weak version of you loves comfort because it never asks for more. It never demands growth. It never exposes your flaws. In comfort, you can convince yourself that good enough is success. But look closely. When you live inside comfort too long, it starts to rot you from the inside out. You lose your edge. You lose your hunger. You stop chasing the hard things because the soft things feel easier. You become domesticated. And the scariest part, you start to think that's normal. You start calling it peace. You start calling it balance. You tell yourself, I'm just content. But deep down, you're not. You know you're capable of more, but you've forgotten what it feels like to fight for it. Most people spend their lives trapped in that illusion. They build routines around comfort and then wonder why they feel empty. They confuse stability with purpose, predictability with peace, and pleasure with fulfillment. They keep chasing little hits of temporary happiness, the food, the phone, the weekend, the approval, anything that gives them relief from the uncomfortable truth that they've stopped growing. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in discomfort, in pressure, in resistance. It happens when you stretch yourself beyond what you thought was possible. That's where confidence is born. In doing hard things, in facing fear, in proving to yourself that you can handle more than you believed. You can't build that kind of strength when everything is easy. The muscles of the mind, just like the body, only grow under strain. But here's the thing, society doesn't teach you that. Society teaches you to seek comfort, to chase convenience, to avoid struggle at all costs. Everything around you is designed to make your life easier. Faster food, shorter effort, instant gratification. The message is clear. If it's hard, it's wrong. If it's uncomfortable, something's broken. And so you adapt. You start designing your life around ease, not excellence. Around safety, not strength. You tell yourself you're protecting your peace. But what you're really doing is protecting your weakness. You're giving yourself permission to stay small. Because comfort is predictable. There's no risk of failure there. No rejection. No embarrassment. But there's also no growth. No excitement. No fire. You can't live an extraordinary life from inside a padded cell of your own making. Think about this. Every major breakthrough in your life came from discomfort. Every transformation began when you were uncomfortable. When you were stretched. When you had to do something that scared you. You didn't grow when things were easy. You grew when things were hard. You didn't build resilience sitting on the couch. You built it standing up to something that could break you. And yet we spend most of our lives running from that feeling instead of chasing it. Comfort is seductive because it gives you small rewards for no effort. But those small rewards cost you big dreams. You trade the fulfillment of your potential for the convenience of your habits. You give up the challenge that could transform you for the routine that keeps you the same. And what's worse, you justify it. You say, I'm fine, I'm doing okay. But okay is not a life. Okay is survival, not living. You have to understand that comfort isn't just physical. It's mental, emotional, spiritual. It's the way you avoid hard conversations. It's the way you stay silent when you should speak up. It's the way you keep relationships that don't serve you because change is uncomfortable. It's the way you stay in a job that kills your passion because at least it's familiar. Every one of those choices is another layer of the cage. You want to know the difference between people who evolve and people who stay stuck? It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not opportunity. It's their relationship with discomfort. The ones who grow are the ones who stop running from it. They understand that discomfort is the price of admission for greatness. They feel the fear, the doubt, the pain, and they move anyway. They've learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's what you have to train yourself to do. To walk toward discomfort instead of away from it. To use it as a compass. If something scares you, challenges you, makes you uneasy, that's exactly where you need to go. That's the direction of growth. The problem is, most people interpret that signal wrong. They feel discomfort and think this must not be for me. But in reality, that discomfort is proof that you're stepping into something bigger. It's the alarm clock for your potential. Every time you choose discomfort, you weaken the cage. Every time you do the hard thing, even when you don't want to, you bend the bars a little wider. Eventually you realize the cage was never locked. It just required courage to step out. The key has always been inside you. It's called action. So the next time you feel the pull to take the easy road, stop and ask yourself, is this comfort helping me? Or is it controlling me? Because if it's controlling you, then you're not living, you're surviving. And survival might keep you safe, but it will never make you fulfilled. You have to decide which pain you're willing to live with, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Because comfort promises to protect you from pain, but what it really delivers is emptiness. You'll look back one day and realize you played it safe, and that's the most painful realization of all. Freedom doesn't come from making life easier. It comes from making yourself stronger. The harder you push yourself, the more capable you become. The more capable you become, the freer you feel. You stop being scared of challenges because you've proven you can handle them. You stop avoiding pain because you know it's part of progress. That's when you break the cage. Not by escaping comfort, but by mastering it. Because comfort isn't evil. It's not your enemy. It's a test. It's asking you, do you want to stay here or do you want more? And your answer isn't in what you say. It's in what you do. So start moving toward what scares you. Start doing the things you've been avoiding. Start living like your growth depends on it. Because it does. You built the cage, but that means you can also break it. All it takes is one decision, the decision to stop choosing easy and start choosing worth it. The world outside the cage is waiting. But first you have to stop making your comfort more valuable than your purpose. Discipline, it's the difference between who you are and who you could be. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, and it doesn't care about how you feel. Discipline is quiet, it's steady, it's relentless. It's the weapon that separates the strong from the weak. And the truth is, without it, you have no chance of defeating the weaker version of yourself. Motivation is temporary. It burns hot and fades fast. You can't build a life on emotion. You can't build greatness on inspiration alone. Because motivation depends on how you feel, and your feelings change with the weather. One moment you're fired up, ready to take on the world, and the next you're tired, distracted, overwhelmed. Discipline doesn't care about moods. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't need a reason. It simply does the work, no matter what. Most people fail because they keep waiting to feel ready. They think the right mindset will magically appear one morning. They think discipline is a mood that arrives when life gets easier. But that's a lie. Discipline isn't something that shows up. It's something you build. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. The more you demand of yourself, the stronger it becomes. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's not about punishment. It's about power. It's about taking ownership of your time, your energy, and your choices. It's the ability to say, this is what I said I'd do, so I'm doing it. It's that simple and that hard. Because when no one's watching, when there's no applause, when no one will know if you skip the work, that's when discipline reveals who you really are. The weak version of you will always argue against discipline. It'll tell you that you deserve rest, that it's not the right time, that missing one day won't matter. But that's the trap. Because every time you listen, you reinforce the weakness. You tell your mind that your emotions run the show. You train yourself to give in. And every time you give in, that weak version of you grows stronger. Discipline flips the power dynamic. When you start keeping promises to yourself, you begin to trust yourself. You stop relying on emotion to guide you. You stop negotiating with excuses. You create a new standard, one where effort is automatic. You no longer ask, do I feel like it? You ask, what needs to be done? That shift changes everything. Think about a soldier, an athlete, a performer at the top of their craft. They don't wait for motivation. They operate by discipline. They've trained their minds to follow through, regardless of how they feel. Their bodies move before their minds can make excuses. That's not because they're special. It's because they've practiced the art of consistency until it became part of who they are. And that's what discipline really is. Identity. It's not about forcing yourself to do things. It's about becoming the kind of person who does them naturally. When discipline becomes who you are, you don't have to fight with yourself anymore. You don't waste energy debating every decision. You just execute. The friction disappears, and what's left is clarity. But let's be honest, building discipline is brutal. It's boring. It's repetitive. It's showing up every single day without instant results. That's why so few people have it. Everyone wants the outcome, the body, the success, the peace, but no one wants the process. Discipline is the price of admission, and most aren't willing to pay it. Discipline is waking up early when your bed feels like paradise. It's saying no to distractions when everyone else is indulging. It's sticking to your plan when progress feels invisible. It's choosing responsibility over comfort. And every time you do, you chip away at weakness. You tell your brain, we don't quit here. We don't give up here. We do the work. When you master discipline, you become dangerous not to others, but to your old self. You become untouchable because nothing external can shake you anymore. Life will still throw chaos at you, stress, failure, pain, but you'll stand firm because discipline builds structure inside you. It gives you control when everything else feels out of control. You can't control the world, but you can control your response to it. That's power. Without discipline, you live reactively. You move based on moods, temptations, distractions. You spend your life chasing the next high, the next escape, the next excuse. That's how weakness wins. It keeps you reacting instead of creating. Discipline flips that script. It gives you direction. It anchors you to purpose. You stop drifting and start driving. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Discipline is freedom. It sounds contradictory, but it's real. The more disciplined you become, the freer you are. Why? Because when you're disciplined, you don't live under the control of impulses anymore. You're not enslaved to procrastination, addiction, laziness, or fear. You're free because you command yourself. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is doing what's required without being forced. You want confidence? It's born from discipline. Every time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you can rely on you. That's real self-respect. That's where inner strength comes from, not from talk, but from consistent action. Confidence isn't built in front of a mirror. It's built in the moments when you keep your word in silence. The weak version of you thrives on inconsistency. It wants you to stop and start, to get excited and then fade out. It wants you to live by bursts of energy that never last. But discipline is what breaks that cycle. Discipline says, we're not starting over anymore. We're building forward. Every disciplined action is a vote for your stronger self. Every time you follow through, you reinforce a new identity, one that doesn't bow to weakness. And make no mistake, discipline doesn't mean perfection. You'll slip, you'll fail, you'll have days where everything feels heavy. But discipline isn't about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down. It's about showing up again, no matter how many times you've been knocked down. Weakness runs from failure. Discipline learns from it. Discipline uses failure as fuel. So ask yourself, what kind of person are you training yourself to be? Because every day, your habits are casting votes. You're either voting for weakness or for strength. There's no middle ground. You can't say you want greatness and then act with laziness. You can't say you want freedom while living by excuses. Discipline is the proof of what you truly want. When you wake up tomorrow and that voice tells you you're tired or you can skip it today, that's the moment of truth. That's the battlefield. Don't negotiate. Don't argue. Move. Action is the antidote to weakness. The more you act, the quieter that weak voice becomes. And one day you'll realize it's gone. Not because it disappeared, but because you stopped listening. That's when you'll understand the real meaning of power. It's not about control over others. It's control over yourself. Discipline gives you that. It's the armor you wear into every challenge, the structure that carries you through chaos, the standard that keeps you grounded when the world wavers. You can't fake discipline. You can't borrow it. You can't buy it. You earn it one decision at a time, one sacrifice at a time, one day at a time. It's the ultimate form of self-respect. Because when you're disciplined, you're telling yourself, I am worth the effort. So stop chasing motivation. Stop waiting for the right time. The right time is now. The right feeling is irrelevant. All that matters is action. Consistent, deliberate, disciplined action. That's how you destroy weakness. That's how you build the strongest version of yourself. Not by talking about change, but by living it every single day, no matter how you feel. That's the real battle. That's the real weapon. And it's in your hands. Pain. The word alone makes most people flinch. We're trained from childhood to avoid it, to escape it, to see it as something bad. When something hurts, we look for the quickest way out. We pop a pill, we scroll a screen, we run from the discomfort. But what if I told you that pain isn't your enemy? What if the very thing you've been avoiding is the key to your growth, the proof that you're becoming something greater? Because here's the truth. Pain is the evidence that you're evolving. It's the receipt of transformation. Pain is feedback. It's your body, your mind, your spirit signaling that something is shifting. Growth and pain live in the same neighborhood. You can't have one without the other. When you start stretching yourself beyond what's familiar, it's going to hurt. When you push your limits, something inside you resists. That resistance is pain. And that pain is the exact moment where change begins. You don't build strength without resistance. You don't build resilience without hardship. You don't build character without struggle. Every muscle in your body follows the same law. It tears before it grows. You have to break down before you build up. So why do we think our mental and emotional muscles are any different? Why do we expect growth to feel good? Growth is uncomfortable by design. That discomfort is the process of becoming stronger. But we live in a world addicted to comfort. Everywhere you turn, there's a shortcut, a distraction, a promise of relief. We've been taught that the goal is to minimize pain, not to master it. And because of that, we've created a generation that's emotionally fragile, strong when things go well, but shattered the moment they don't. The problem isn't that life is painful. The problem is that we've stopped training for pain. We've forgotten that pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every challenge, every setback, every heartbreak you've ever faced was building something inside you. Patience, strength, wisdom, empathy. Pain refines you. It strips away what's fake and forces you to face what's real. It humbles you, teaches you, toughens you. It's the furnace where character is forged. But that can only happen if you let it. Because pain can either break you or build you. It depends on what you do with it. When most people feel pain, they retreat. They interpret it as a signal to stop. But pain doesn't always mean quit. Sometimes it means keep going. It means you've reached the edge of your comfort zone. It means you're right where you need to be. You're growing, but you can only grow through it, not around it. The only way out is think about your greatest moments of growth. Think about the times you became stronger, wiser, sharper. They didn't come during easy seasons, did they? They came from struggle. They came from heartbreak, rejection, failure. Those moments hurt. They tested you. They stripped away your illusions, but they also revealed who you really are. You found out what you were capable of. You found out what mattered. You found out that pain didn't destroy you. It shaped you. The weak version of you fears pain because it sees only the surface, the discomfort, the loss, the effort. But the strong version of you understands what pain really is. Information. Pain says this matters. Pain says something here needs attention. Pain says you're alive and growing. When you stop running from it and start listening to it, pain becomes your greatest teacher. Every time you face pain instead of fleeing from it, you reclaim power. You prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. You turn fear into strength, doubt into fuel. You start building a relationship with pain. not as an enemy, but as an ally. You begin to realize that discomfort isn't the end of the road, it's the beginning of transformation. And here's the thing. Pain doesn't discriminate. It visits everyone. You can't escape it. You can't outsmart it. You can only choose how you respond. You can either let it define you, or you can use it to refine you. You can either be a victim of it or a student of it. The difference between people who crumble and people who rise isn't the amount of pain they experience. It's how they interpret it. Pain reveals truth. It exposes what's weak, what's fake, what's unnecessary. It forces you to confront your limits, your habits, your lies. It demands honesty. You can't hide behind excuses when you're in pain. You can't fake it. Pain brings everything to the surface. It's raw. It's real. And that's where growth happens. In that rawness, in that exposure. That's where you rebuild with intention. Stop wishing for an easy life. Easy doesn't change you. Easy keeps you fragile. If you never face pressure, you'll never discover your power. If you never fall, you'll never learn how to rise. You want to be strong? Then you must be willing to hurt. Because strength is not built in comfort. It's built in resistance. Every scar you have, physical or emotional, is proof that you didn't run. It's proof that you faced the fire and came out stronger. The world tries to sell you the lie that happiness comes from avoiding pain. But real happiness, the kind that's grounded and unshakable, comes from conquering it. It comes from looking pain in the face and saying, "You don't control me." That's freedom. That's power. So the next time you're hurting, physically, mentally, emotionally, pause before you run. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What strength is this building? What weakness is this exposing? Because every painful moment holds a lesson, but most people are too busy escaping to receive it. Pain is not the problem. Your relationship with it is. Change that, and you change everything. Instead of seeing pain as something to avoid, start seeing it as proof that you're on the path. Every time it burns, you're breaking limits. Every time it aches, you're expanding capacity. Every time it hurts, you're building something the weak version of you could never handle. The strong version of you doesn't fear pain. It uses it. It channels it. It turns pain into purpose. It says, I'll suffer for what I believe in. I'll endure for what matters. That's what separates the ones who rise from the ones who remain stuck. The ones who rise have learned how to walk through the fire without losing themselves in it. Because pain at its core is transformation. It strips away the unnecessary until only the essential remains. It takes you apart so you can rebuild with intention. It forces you to grow. And when you understand that, you stop running from it. You start respecting it. Let the pain sharpen you. Let it cleanse you. Let it teach you how powerful you really are. Every time life tests you, remember, it's not trying to destroy you, it's trying to develop you. The pain you feel today is the strength you'll carry tomorrow. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the things that hurt you the most were the very things that built you. So stop seeing pain as a signal to stop. See it as the sign you're on the right path. Because pain doesn't mean you're breaking, it means you're becoming. Your mind is the most powerful weapon you will ever own, and the most dangerous one too. It can build you into someone unstoppable, or it can break you down until you become your own worst enemy. Most people never realize this truth. You either control your mind or your mind controls you. There's no in between. The thoughts you allow, the stories you tell yourself, the language you use, they're either sharpening your strength or feeding your weakness. Every decision, every reaction, every emotion starts in your mind. Before your body quits, your mind does. Before you say, I can't, your mind already decided it for you. You see, the weak version of you doesn't start with laziness or fear. It starts with thought, a single thought. I'm not ready. It's too hard. I'll do it tomorrow. That thought becomes a belief, and that belief becomes your reality. That's how your mind traps you. It doesn't chain your body, it chains your thinking. Your mind is a battlefield. Every day, thoughts are fighting for control, courage versus doubt, faith versus fear, discipline versus distraction. And most people lose this war without even knowing it's happening because they've never learned how to command their own minds. They let every thought in. They give power to fear, to worry, to insecurity, until those thoughts become their truth. And then they wonder why they feel stuck. Here's the harsh truth. Your mind will believe whatever you feed it, even the lies. If you keep telling yourself you're tired, you'll feel exhausted. If you keep saying you're not good enough, you'll act like it. If you tell yourself you're unlucky, you'll stop seeing opportunities. Your brain doesn't care what's true. It cares what's repeated. So if you keep feeding it weakness, weakness becomes your identity. That's why mastering your mind is everything. Because once you own your thoughts, you own your life. You stop reacting and you start creating. You stop letting circumstances dictate your mood. And you start choosing your state of mind. You realize that control doesn't come from outside forces. It starts with inner discipline. The strongest people aren't the ones who have easy lives. They're the ones who've learned to control the chaos inside their heads. The weak version of you lives in stories. Stories like, I can't do this. I've always been this way. People like me don't win. I'll never be enough. Those stories are powerful because you believe them. You repeat them until they become your truth. But here's the thing. You can rewrite the story. You can take the pen back and start crafting a new narrative. One built on strength, on accountability, on action. But you can't rewrite a story you refuse to see. You have to first call out the lies. You have to start listening to how you talk to yourself. The words you use matter. Every time you say, I can't, you weaken your mind. Every time you say, I'll try, you give yourself an escape route. Every time you say, maybe, you dilute your commitment. Your language becomes your limitation. The strong version of you doesn't speak in uncertainty. It says, I can, I will, I must. Because those words program your mind for action. They don't leave space for hesitation. But make no mistake, mastering your mind isn't about positive thinking or fake affirmations. It's not pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's about awareness and command. It's about learning to observe your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. It's realizing that just because you think something doesn't make it true, you can feel fear without surrendering to it. You can feel doubt and still move forward. That's control. Most people think freedom comes from doing whatever you want. But real freedom is the ability to tell your mind, we're doing this, and then doing it regardless of how you feel. That's self-mastery. It's the moment you stop negotiating with your emotions, because your emotions are temporary. Your purpose is not. The mind will always look for the path of least resistance. Your job is to lead it where it doesn't want to go. You have to train your mind like a warrior trains their body. Every day, repetition, exposure, pressure. You can't expect to have a strong mindset if you never challenge it. You build mental toughness by facing discomfort on purpose, by doing the hard things that test your patience, your focus, your endurance. You teach your mind that struggle isn't danger, it's opportunity. The more you expose it to discomfort, the less control fear has over you. If you don't train your mind, the world will do it for you, and the world's goal isn't your strength, it's your submission. Social media, advertising, the constant noise. It's all designed to keep your mind reactive, emotional, distracted. It feeds you comparison, doubt, urgency. It teaches you to seek validation instead of direction. And the more you absorb that noise, the weaker your internal voice becomes. You stop hearing your own intuition. You start living based on external approval. That's how people lose themselves. Not overnight, but inch by inch, thought by thought. The strong version of you doesn't live like that. It protects its mental space. It filters what it allows in. It chooses focus over noise, purpose over pleasure, intention over impulse. It's ruthless about what it feeds its mind because it understands that thoughts become habits, habits become behavior, and behavior becomes destiny. The strong version of you builds mental armor, not to shut the world out, but to move through it with clarity and conviction. Your mind will test you every single day. It will tempt you to quit, to play small, to choose easy. It will replay your mistakes and magnify your fears. But every time it does, you have a choice. You can surrender to it, or you can take command. You can say, not today. You can say, we're doing this anyway. That's how you retrain it. That's how you retrain control. You override emotion with decision. You replace hesitation with movement. And over time, something powerful happens. Your mind stops fighting you. It starts following you. It starts to believe what you tell it. You become the authority. You stop being a slave to your moods and start being the master of your mission. That's when everything changes. Owning your mind doesn't mean you'll never feel doubt, fear, or anxiety again. It means you won't let those feelings dictate your actions. You'll still hear the weak voice, but it won't move you. You'll recognize it, acknowledge it, and then keep going. Because mastery isn't silence, it's control. So here's the question: who's running your life right now? You or your mind? Are you leading your thoughts? Or are you being led by them? Because every day you have that choice to act from power or from fear, to build yourself or betray yourself. Own your mind and you own your future. Neglect it and you'll spend your life reacting instead of creating. The battlefield isn't outside you, it's inside your head. That's where you win or lose every single day. So stop letting your thoughts run wild. Stop letting old stories write your destiny. Start leading. Start training. Start commanding. Because once you learn to master your mind, there's nothing left to fear. The world can throw anything at you. Chaos, pain, failure, and you'll stay centered, focused, unbreakable. That's real strength. That's real freedom. And that's what happens when you stop letting your mind own you and finally take it back. Listen carefully, because this is where it all comes together. Every word you've heard, every truth that hit you, every uncomfortable moment that made you question yourself, it all leads to this: you are at war with a weaker version of you. That war doesn't end when this speech ends. It doesn't end tomorrow. It doesn't end when things get easier, because they won't. It ends only when you decide every single day to rise above the version of you that wants to stay small. The weak version of you will always be there, whispering, tempting, bargaining. It will offer you comfort in exchange for your potential. It will offer you excuses in exchange for your greatness. It will beg you to play it safe. But you've seen what happens when you listen to it. You've lived that life. The hesitation, the guilt, the quiet frustration that comes from knowing you could have done more, but didn't. You don't need to live that way anymore. Because now you know better. You know that comfort is the cage. You know that discipline is the weapon. You know that pain is the teacher. You know that your mind, your greatest ally or your worst enemy, decides which version of you wins. The strong version of you isn't built overnight. It's built in the small moments, the decisions that no one sees, the promises you keep when it's inconvenient, the times you refuse to quit even when everything in you wants to stop. That's where power is born, not in big victories, but in silent ones. Not in perfect days, but in disciplined ones. You don't need to be the most talented, the smartest, or the luckiest. You just need to be the one who refuses to back down, the one who shows up, the one who does what needs to be done, again and again, until it becomes who you are. Because greatness doesn't belong to the gifted. It belongs to the relentless. So from this moment forward, make a promise, not to me, not to anyone else, but to yourself. A promise that you will never again let the weak version of you make your choices. That you will stop waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right conditions. That you will move even when you're tired, even when it hurts, even when it feels impossible. Because the truth is, no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to make it easy. No one's coming to silence that weak voice inside your head. That's your job. That's your fight. And it's a fight worth winning. You have everything you need already inside you. The strength, the courage, the discipline, the fire. You just have to use it. You have to step into it. You have to make the choice right now that from this day on, you're done living like a half version of yourself. Crush the weak version of you. Not once, not someday, every single day. Crush it when it tells you to quit. Crush it when it tells you to slow down. Crush it when it whispers that you're not enough. Because the truth is, you are. You always have been. You just stopped acting like it. So, rise, step up, command yourself, build the habits, the mindset, the discipline that create the person you were meant to become. Leave no room for the old version of you to breathe. Because when you kill your excuses, you create your freedom. This isn't motivation. This is a call to arms. This is your reminder that you are capable of far more than you've ever allowed yourself to believe. It's time to take back control. It's time to fight for the life you are meant to live. It's time to crush the weak version of yourself once and for all.